Rising. Welcome to today's show. You gotta see this. This is pretty funny. Most of you who watch the videos that I've been doing on Hurricane Dorian, obviously the very first video I did, I talked about how to just look for abnormal behavior, abnormal patterns within these storms. Not to just jump and say that every single storm is, controlled by HARP or controlled by weaponized weather. To watch the behaviors, watch the patterns, right? Then I noticed how this thing wasn't even moving. So I covered it, I just did some videos, and I said, look, this is bizarre behavior. Most hurricanes, so they claim, at a minimum, are about 10 miles per hour, moving 10 miles per hour. Not talking about, having winds of up to 200 miles per hour, 150 mile per hour winds, just how it moves. The slower that it moves, the more devastating it'll be because it'll just sit over land for a longer period of time once it hits land. Now, first thing I'm going to do is show you this clip and then these articles that are already deflecting, because I guess they know that there are people out there who think that it's a very small amount of us, but they're already deflecting and saying, well, here's the reasons why it's moving so slow. Because it's almost like we've been hearing about this for over a week and it still hasn't hit Florida. And it's Tuesday as of this recording, September 3rd, and we heard about this a week ago. I mean, I was watching my first videos on it were like last Thursday, and this thing's just sitting there. But look at this video and watch the clock in the upper corner. It's about a 12-hour running 12 hours to show you how the hurricane's moving. It doesn't even move. It doesn't move an inch. If anything, it looks like it goes backwards. So take a look at this clip right here.
Getting updates every hour from the National Hurricane Center, and we will have the next full advisory at 11 o'clock. That's when they will update the forecast track. The latest information coming in saying the storm is not moving very much right now. Let's get right to it, show you what we're seeing here on the satellite and radar. A very, very slow-moving storm. Officially, the Hurricane Center is saying that Dorian is stationary, although it has moved about 5 miles over the past several hours now. It's about 30 miles northeast of Freeport in the Bahamas. And again, you can see those outer rain bands affecting Florida all the way over into the Gulf of Mexico.
I mean, is this guy okay keeping a straight face? Over a 12-hour span, this thing is just sitting there, and then you have headlines on the Weather Channel where they're talking about how strong this is and how much stronger it's getting. It's Dorian growing in size as the headline, and we just see it building and building and building. And then when they want to come out and say, if people ask the question of why you get stuff like this from Forbes, here's why Hurricane Dorian is moving so slowly and why it may be the new normal. So right off the bat, now they're going to try to say why it's the new normal. And if you actually just look up, if you just type in like slowest moving hurricanes, they're saying there's already at the very top of the Google search, it's saying Dorian has been the slowest moving major hurricane ever observed in the Atlantic. And it says over a period from 3 a.m. on Labor Day to 5 a.m. on Tuesday, which is 28 hours, that it moved just 30 miles, which is less. You can't make it up, right? But this is what Forbes is saying. Saying moving at a pace of 1 mile per hour, Dorian is slower than an adult's walking pace. This is a hurricane, folks. And because of science, and as it sits there, keep in mind, as it sits there and it doesn't move, it's just gaining strength. It's not like it's sitting there, it's not moving, and it's dissipating, it's leaving, it's falling apart. It's becoming bigger and stronger. I wonder if HARP's involved. So moving at a pace of 1 mile per hour, Hurricane Dorian is slower than an adult's walking pace, and because of scientific phenomena caused by these slow megastorms, hurricanes that are economically devastating could over time become our new normal. So here they are seed planting and telling you that hurricanes are going to become more and more devastating now. And of course, we know they're going to throw global warming in here in this article at some point. So as of 4 a.m., Hurricane Dorian had remained over the Bahamas for 24 hours. So it sat over the Bahamas for 24 hours. And in that time, 5 people died, and the Red Cross estimated at least 13,000 houses have been destroyed. Dorian is moving so slowly because a high-pressure atmospheric system called the Bermuda High kept it hovering over the Bahamas before dissolving, leaving it at a standstill. The National Hurricane Center predicts a new low-pressure system will start moving Dorian northward on Tuesday. According to the Wall Street Journal, this is just talking about some of the homes and the devastation. Climate change is helping to create even more powerful and destructive storms. NPR reported that the Earth's warming oceans make hurricanes even more intense, creating a trend that's unlikely to reverse anytime soon. Meanwhile, 5 years ago, they have stuff like this on CBS Good Morning America, or whatever these morning shows are.
They were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning.
Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're digging into laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have it, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting.
They're openly talking about the controlling of weather. I've obviously showed you, and most of you obviously already know, but if you didn't know, Operation Popeye, other things involving weather control, HARP's involvement with weather control, John F. Kennedy talking about weather control, people on C-SPAN going in front of Congress talking about cloud seeding, all this stuff that they don't even deny. And it's funny because all these people always mock conspiracy theorists, right? Oh, they think that they eat babies, and they're all Satanists and all that stuff. And they're always going back to their science about everything, and, let's debunk it with science. And you don't see any of them touch this because, you know why? Because nobody can explain it because it's so abnormal. And what are they going to do? They're going to go, well, they need to wait for the media to give them an explanation as to why. Then they'll come out and say, oh, look, the crazy conspiracy theorists think they're controlling the storm. But they don't know what to say because they need the narrative to come from the mainstream media, and that's what they're doing now, right? Saying climate change is helping create even more powerful and destructive storms. The NPR reported the Earth's warming oceans make hurricanes even more intense, creating a trend that's unlikely to reverse anytime soon. Surprising fact, Dorian is the second Category 5 hurricane to make landfall in the Bahamas since '83. What to watch for, where Dorian goes next, and how much disaster aid is needed in the areas. Slight devastations of the storm path make a big difference in who gets hit and who doesn't. Residents in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas are under various tropical storm and hurricane warnings and are waiting for Dorian to make its way to them. So this is clearly being manipulated. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. Anyone with common sense can see that in the history of hurricanes, now they're coming out and saying this is the slowest moving one ever. You're watching a Doppler, or whatever these stupid things are called, where they're showing you a 12-hour period and the thing ain't moving. What storm doesn't move? Where's the jet stream, right? What storm sits there for 12 hours without any movement? We've seen like huge storms, right? But they still move, right? Like a huge blizzard. Oh, here it comes, here it goes up, and there's still the tail, and maybe you'll get snow for 24 hours, or even with a hurricane, obviously. This is just sitting there. It's becoming bigger and bigger, and it's not going anywhere until they decide to send it somewhere. Pretty funny, right? People still don't believe that there's weather control. Why would they control the weather? Why would they do something like that? Oh, I don't know. Why would they make it a slower hurricane? Not to destroy and cause any type of chaos, so they have to rebuild, so they can run people out of these areas. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. I'll keep you guys posted on what I see with Dorian, but I thought that was one of the funniest clips because the guy's just like, he's like, here it is, and, I used to see the clock flying by for 12 hours, and the thing is not moving anywhere. And what, suddenly it's going to gain some traction because they're saying, like, oh, the Bahama wind is coming, and it's going to throw it right up the whole East Coast as it sits over Florida for days, and it's going to sit over Georgia for days, and or they're going to say it's off the coast a little bit, but the winds are increasing. Now they're saying it's a Category 3. I mean, this is obviously manipulated, and there's no doubt about it. And the fact that they have to come out and they have to say this is the new norm, slower moving storms that cause more devastation, and people just accept it because, one, they don't want to believe that their government would ever be involved in this type of stuff. Two, they don't believe this technology exists because they haven't come out in the news and made it the new normal and said, oh, well, we control weather. But even then, they'll go, well, why would they do it against us? They would never do it against us. You're a crazy conspiracy nut. I got to get back onto my cell phone so I can take pictures of my feet and put it on Instagram. This is the world we live in, folks. Manipulated weather, clearly going on here. For those of you who are affected or in the path of this, my prayers go out to you and your family. Stay safe. I thank you guys for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.